everyone, PushingUpRoses here, and today we're talking about a very special game, King's Quest III to Heir is Human. For a very long time I considered this to be my favorite game, but over time I evolved, I became a little older, a little wiser, and eventually it got replaced with Grim Fandango. But this game will always hold a special place in my heart. It's no longer one of my favorites, but it will always be one of my nostalgic favorites. You know what I'm saying here? When I was young, I saw a computer in my aunt's basement. It was a Tandy 1000. I also saw a blue floppy disk with a cool looking sticker. It had a banner on it that said King's Quest over the Roman numeral for 3. My aunt agreed to play this game with me, and the minute she booted it up was the minute I fell in love. I was beguiled by what I saw on the monitor, a fictional world where you play as a character named Gwydion, who is being held captive by an evil wizard named Manannan. By the way, since I was only 4 or 5 when I played this game, and my reading comprehension skills were still flourishing, I read Gwydion as Gilligan. I called him Gilligan for years. I learned basic commands like look and kick cat. You know, the usual suspects. But my greatest accomplishment was when I took this tin cup from this table and got a single point. From then, I was hooked. This is the first title in the King's Quest series where you don't play as King Graham. In fact, the beginning of this game makes no mention of Graham at all. It tells you the story of Gwydion and how he is enslaved in this house on a mountaintop by the wizard Manannan. Gwydion is about to turn 18, but just like a member of Menudo, if you get too old, you're kicked out. Or in this case, killed. Gwydion has to find a way to free himself and figure out who he really is through... you guessed it, completing a series of inventory object puzzles. I feel like I should create a drinking game based on the amount of times I've said that previous sentence. This is definitely the most difficult King's Quest, and probably the most frustrating. This is because you're working on a real-time mechanic, and because about half the game is spellcasting. As you can see, there's a clock here, and it was put there for a reason. Every time Manannan says he's going on a journey or taking a nap, that is your cue to go explore and collect items you need for casting spells that come in your manual. If you don't make it back in time, you'll be killed. If you have an important item in your inventory, you'll be killed. If you run out of food to give to Manannan whenever he gets back from his journey, you'll be killed. If you fall off a mountain, you'll be killed. If you swim too far, you'll be killed. If you see Medusa, you'll be killed. You'll be killed. If you do these things, you'll be killed. I wrote a song called You'll Be Killed. I'm aware that not many people like the spellcasting aspect, but I spent so much time with this game, taking notes and collecting the ingredients I needed for my spells that I really came to enjoy it. I'm also slightly masochistic, so maybe I just enjoy the tedium. In the wizard's basement, you find an old Tome of Magic, and this book correlates with the manual that came with the game. When you're ready to engage in some verbal prestidigitation, you turn to the page that is in your physical manual in-game and follow the directions given. Horny toad. Like I said, this makes up for, I don't know, about half the game, which is why people have been rather harsh with their critique. Now, I rather like sitting at my computer at 3 a.m. with an extremely determined look on my face, mashing my fingers on the keyboard like my life depended on it as I finish every single spell flawlessly. But this isn't everyone's gig, I get it. You could be spending that time exploring, getting mugged by bandits and yelled at by Mama Bear, or getting crunk with this saucy wench whose head is tragically too big for her body, but here we are, spellcasting. If you make a spelling error, you'll be killed. The manual served as unintentional copy protection. The game already had disk-based protection where the game needed to be in your computer to play it. It just so happened that you also needed the manual to complete the game because, well, you needed to do the spell puzzles. I don't even really want to refer to it as copy protection since it only happened like that on accident, but it likely inspired the manual-based copy protection for King's Quest IV, in which you type some words from the manual in the beginning of the game. I would think that the spellcasting really came about because designer Roberta Williams wanted to make this game as hard as it possibly could be. This makes complete sense to me because Williams was initially inspired by the text game aptly titled Colossal Cave Adventure. In fact, Williams was not that interested in video games early on, but once she played Adventure, she became obsessed. I think the difficulty of the King's Quest games was directly inspired by the difficulty of Adventure, which had Williams drawing elaborate maps and spending hours trying to figure out solutions to the puzzles. That is what the King's Quest games are supposed to be. hard. Hard enough to spend months to years on them, the same kind of games that Williams enjoyed herself. King's Quest III was definitely successful in that area, as I spent literally years playing it. I didn't complete the game until I was in junior high, but I am proud to say that I did finish it without a walkthrough, and the game was much more important to me because I did spend so long on it. I played it during my childhood and picked it up whenever I could as I got older, so I do see the appeal of playing a game for months to even years. These days, the very temptation of a walkthrough makes us less patient. We know it's there, we know it's online, why struggle with a game when I can look up the solution in 5 seconds? Growing up with a game like King's Quest III was different. I did not have a guide dangling in front of me, therefore I didn't feel as impatient, just determined to figure it out. To make the game a little less cumbersome, a magic map mechanic was added. Whenever you visit places on the map, you gain the ability to teleport to them to save some time. Some people criticize this element, saying it made the game too easy. Oh, okay. So first the game is way too hard, but the map makes it too easy? Alright. Once I finally figured out how to get rid of Manannan and solved all the spellcasting puzzles, I found the rest of the game relatively easy. When you cast the spell for understanding animals, Gwydion can find out that he's not Gwydion at all. He's not even Gilligan. He's Prince Alexander of Daventry, according to the animal gossip train. He was stolen from his home in Daventry as a baby and enslaved by Manannan for reasons of evil wizardry. By the way, I love the dramatic sting that plays whenever Manannan pops up. It makes everything feel so much more ominous. I want this to play whenever I have a first world problem. It's time for your yearly checkup at the dentist? The dentist? Needles! Did you just poop on the floor? You know what I think I'll do today? I think I'll read some YouTube comments. You are then motivated to get the hell out of Ludor and find your family. Personally, I never wanted to leave this place. I liked it. I liked the 3 bears and this storekeeper guy and his dog, and I was gonna ask this woman out on a date. This could have been my new home. After turning Manannan into a black cat, I wanted to live happily ever after in my awesome house. But I guess Alexander wanted to see his family. Understandable, I guess. You hitch a ride back to Daventry with some pirates, and this part of the game is admittedly some kind of bullshit. It also works on a real-time mechanic. The pirates steal your shit and lock you in the cargo hold, and you have to figure out a way to get it back, which takes all of 5 minutes. Once you figure it out, you just have to wait. It takes about 30 minutes to get to Daventry, and you have no choice but to wait in real time for the ship to reach land. You cannot speed this up. I went to go have dinner and left my game running, so by the time I got back, I was ready to progress. Now, I can understand a first-time playthrough needing some extra time, but for repeat players, waiting this 30 minutes without an option to skip it just is not fun. I feel like as soon as you figure out the puzzles, as soon as you get your shit back, the game should just move on. But nope, it sticks around like unwanted bad breath after garlic consumption. When you get back to Daventry, you quickly observe that it's really a pile. Man, King Graham and Queen Valenice have really gotten sloppy, but in their defense, their daughter Rosella is being offered as food to a 3-headed dragon, so maybe moat upkeep just wasn't on their list of priorities. No worries, Alexander will save the day. How, you ask? By casting a storm spell in which bolts of lightning conveniently strike down the 3-headed beast. Only he was harmed, not you, not Rosella, not these trees, just the dragon. Well, them's the breaks, Draco. You can now free your sister whom you've never met until now, and the both of you can return home and... Whoa, wait a second. Are her boobs jiggling? Is this the first game to have jiggle physics? Yep, they are most definitely bouncing. Well, now that we have an inappropriate erection from our own sister, we can escort her back to the castle. You return home, and for some reason, everyone believes you are Prince Alexander. They don't ask for your social security card, they don't ask for your ID, they just believe you. I'm not sure why. You could be anyone. We don't have proof, but hey, why not believe him? He did save Rosella after all, and a bird told us that Gwydion is Alexander, and I trusted that bird implicitly. And hell, we deserve a happy ending after having to empty chamber pots and feed chickens and clean this damned house, so who cares? Live your life, Gilligan. I love this game with all of its flaws and frustrations. It looks beautiful, especially for 1986, and it made me feel like I was living in a fairy tale. In fact, I loved it so much that in 2nd grade I wrote a book called The Quest and drew out some of the scenes from the game. I wish I still had it, but I have no idea where it is now. Besides, it was basically plagiarism, because as a 7-year-old, I thought copying things was a legitimate way to write a story. That is how much I loved King's Quest III. It's not the best in the series, but I will always like it because it was my introduction to adventure games, and it really upped my reading and typing skills when I was young. Everything I type now is done with the fear that if I don't do it fast enough, I may get killed by an evil wizard. Negative reinforcement, am I right? Thank you, King's Quest III, for instilling that ferocity in me, and thank you for making my childhood just a little bit brighter. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video on King's Quest III. If I end up finding that little book I made, I will definitely share it on my social media pages, so be sure to follow me for youngin' updates. If you want more King's Quest, check out my other King's Quest game reviews, and if you want to give me a tip, you can either leave one in my comments or on my beautiful Patreon campaign. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.